and welcome everyone. So today the feature presentation is by Johan Kristiansson about some new Arrowhead utilities. So Johan, the floor is yours.
Hi, so my name is Johan Kristiansson and I'm a senior lecturer working at Luleå University of Technology. And so I just so give you a background. I just started at the university. I've been working here since January, beginning of January. And I'm working in a European project called Copilot, where we are going to use Arrowhead, and we're also going to use a framework that I developed before called Colony. It's designed to create computing continuum, like cloud edge IoT continuum. So I first of all, this was creating this library was an opportunity for me to learn Arrowhead in the deep, because I really wanted to learn how it works. So that was opportunity for me. And secondly, I needed a library in GOlang to interop with my other libraries. So I needed to have something in Go, basically. And I also, when I started using Arrowhead, it was I wanted to streamline the development a little bit. So I wanted to have a CLI, a command line interface, so I can kind of streamline creation of certificate and so on. So what I'm going to demonstrate now is the CLI, and I'm also going to show you how to make a very simple provider and a consumer, and how to use the core services using the CLI. So this is the link to the someone is talking, and maybe someone could mute. So I mean, this isn't a lot of work, I would say. I spent like 1.5 weeks. Me and ChatGPT did this together, and so this is the kind of the link to the repo, and it contains 2 repositories. The first one is a repository just to set up the core services using Docker Compose. So it's a Docker Compose app. I made some small modification. This was developed by someone else. I didn't do it, but I improved it, small improvements. It actually sets up 2 cloud, and it local cloud, and it has a gateway in between. But we are only going to use one of the local clouds in this demonstration. And so I mean, typically in Java, it was a very long time since I did code Java. To be honest, I've been not doing that. And when you do it in other languages, it's very common to use environmental variable instead of having properties file, for example. So everything is in environmental variables, and another reason for that is it makes it easier to use orchestrators like Kubernetes, since it's very easy to use if it's all settings are in environmental variables. So here, do you see my screen? I can make it a little bit bigger if you want to.
Actually, we don't see your screen.
You don't see my screen? Oh, no.
No, if you're sharing anything, we didn't see anything.
Oh, no. Too bad. I mean, I was talking a lot about should have said that earlier. Okay, let me just repeat a little bit. And I was showing this repository that I did, and I was particularly talking about this repo. It sets up 2 local clouds and a gateway in between, but we're only going to use one of the local cloud. And I also talked about the environmental variables that is needed to use this tool. So in this, but now you see my screen. Is it okay? The screen, the size, should I make it? Yeah, I guess it is. So here I have Docker Compose running with the core services set up. And then I can use this tool. I can, for example, I can list all the systems that I have right now. It's the gateway, authorization, gatekeeper, orchestrator, and service registry. So I'm coming a little bit. I'm coming from the cloud world more or less, and I find it like very nice to have a tool like kubectl if you're using Kubernetes or whatever tool you're using. It's very common that you have a CLI. So that's I found that very natural to have on a CLI to use. And so here we can also list the services that is available in our local cloud, and we can filter on the gatekeeper. Then we can get, perhaps you want to get info about some of these services. You can get information about that as well. So it's a kind of a complement to OpenAPI Swagger to be able to do it from the CLI. It's very convenient for me, at least. So what we're going to do now, we are going to create an example. Since I like Apple computer, we can create an Apple producer maybe. And then I will type, now we need to create a new systems, obviously. So we'll create a new Apple producer address localhost, and this will be the port. And now when I type enter here, it generates a certificate automatically, and it also registers to the service registry or new. So if you look at you can also see the name of the common name of the certificate. It's Apple producer.c1.ltu arrowhead.eu. So now if we list the Arrowhead systems ls, we can see we have an Apple producer here. And you can get information about that. It's just created. And we also have the certificate here. I mean, this was one of the difficult part for me when I started using Arrowhead to get the certificate. So I decided to automate that once and for all. So I have a private key and a public key, but it also creates an environmental file that I can just use to start the producer. I will demonstrate this in just a bit. But it contains the name, the port, stuff that is needed to start the provider or producer. So let's start create Apple consumer, and we do the same Arrowhead. We need to create a another port. Maybe we can increase Apple. Just interrupt me if you have questions, by the way. Fine, now we get a consumer as well. So we have two certificates, and it's Apple consumer.c1.ltu.arrowhead.eu. So now the next step is to create a service. So we can use the CLI to do that too. Arrowhead services register. And now I was hoping that it should remember the command. So let's go here a little. All the instructions are here, by the way. But we want to do this command, register a service. It will be called Apple's. Create Apple. It's an Apple provider. So we want to create associate this service with an Apple provided
Sorry,
system.
it's Apple producer. Sorry
Oh,
to interrupt.
I always make that mistakes. I always do that. So that's very good that you saw that. Fine. Now we have got an Apple create Apple service. We can list the service here. Arrowhead services ls, and we can filter on Apple. We have a Apple producer create Apple service definition with the endpoint apples and taking a post as an argument as a method HTTP. So then the final step before we can implement this very simple example is to create authorization rules, and now we don't have any authorization nodes, so we need to add one, and we want to do allow the consumer to communicate with the Apple provider and use the service definition of create Apple. So now if I create that, we will have a service as well. Sorry, and sometimes I know people call this orchestration rules or authorization rules, but now we have a rule that allows them to communicate. And so now the next step is to create the producer in Go. And now I was just thinking about modifying this example here. It's a car example, but we can modify it to create apples instead of cars. So one thing you can notice is very few imports. It's just one import from. That's all that there is, and we will create an Apple. We will remove the brand. We don't need an in-memory database. We will have a create Apple service. Create Apple service, and that will be serving this request then. So create Apple, creating Apple, and we have an Apple. And Apple. Now it's just I will simplify this a little bit and just set the color to red. But so that's we only do red apples today, and we're not using there. We only have a create Apple. So we remove this part, and then we have a check error method. So we have a create Apple service, and we don't have the in memory. And then we need to register this to the framework that I just created, the Arrowhead framework. It's based on a HTTP framework called Gin. I've been using quite a lot, but I made a kind of some abstraction on top of it to be able to make it easier to use Arrowhead. And it was okay. This is it. So now let's take it from the beginning. We create a reference to our framework, and then we create an Apple service, and this struct has a function associated called handle request, and this is actually an interface that is needed to be able to register a service using the handle service function here. So this car Apple service actually has to implement the handle request function, and it's supposed to take a post, create Apple, and this is the endpoint. And so when we make a request, a post request, this function will be called, and so it will say just creating red apples. That is what it will do. It won't return anything. It will just print a logout. Well, it creates a JSON as well here, but it doesn't do anything with the JSON. So we could actually remove that part, but let's keep it like this. So now we can start the Apple producer, and to do this I need to source the framework that I will read some environmental variable from. So I need to source this file, otherwise it needs to know the address to the authorization service registry system, and so on, the password and which certificate it should be using, and also an address to the trust store, a reference to a link to the trust store, and the port. So if I source this file, and then I can just run the producer. Yeah, and the next step is to implement the consumer. Are you still with me, by the way?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's good. Consumer.go, and we do the same thing here. So when I design this framework, I deliberately try to hide Arrowhead, so that people using this don't have to know so much about Arrowhead itself. Let me see. Okay. We need to have a Apple struct. Well, we are just not sharing any libraries between. They are completely separate. This consumer and producer, they don't share any code. So we have to create an Apple struct again here. And we will then send a request. We will create an Apple color, green. We can modify it to handle more types. It should be build. Send request, create Apple. Now let's make it Apple. And yeah, we will not fetch anything. We just remove this code. This one. But now we're not. We are not. The consumer will or the producer will not. It will just create the red apples right now. It doesn't read anything from the body, or maybe I don't remember how it was sent in the body or in the URL. Anyway, so let's see if this works. So examples: Arrowhead, Apple consumer. We will source the Apple consumer, and then we will run the consumer. And now it just creates a green apple here, and we wanted to have a red apple. Or let me check. Oh, it created a green here. Let me check. I don't remember. What did we do? I just forgot. We send a green apple, and the Apple producer. Well, it will just. Well, it will read the payload. So this one should be just an empty struct. So we are reading from the payload. We are reading the apple. That was a green apple here. I was a little bit wrong when I said that Sorry for the confusion. We are not doing. We are only doing apples that was yes, requested by the consumer. So that's how it works. So it's very few lines of code, as you can see. So that's very simple. So when I had this, became very, very simple to integrate with my other framework when I had this functionality. But there are things that are not implemented. So this is a very much sort of experimental code right now. Yeah, I can talk a little. This was basically the example I wanted to show you. So this is it. So let me check here. Producer. Creating. We can remove this. So you can see one of the advantages here. It's very easy. You don't have to build YAR files or anything like this. It's very easy to use. So any questions about that? Yes, go ahead.
So I just to make sure. So how do you communicate with the Arrowhead platform? So over HTTP request?